Hey, what's up? Welcome to my bar. Let me show you something pretty cool. So, I travel a lot for work, and 99% of the time it sucks. I would never recommend traveling for work for anyone. But for the 1% of the time that it doesn't suck, I find myself going to see the local antique store. And walking past, I managed to score something that normally, if you look at these eBay prices, I would never be able to afford. This was only $20. It was sitting in the window and I couldn't say no to it. What is it? Well, I have a collection of weird light bulbs. Not huge, but just enough of a weird collection, such as this one that smiles at you every time you turn it on. This is a Balafire bulb. It's an animated light bulb, and I really do mean animated. Let me bring you in a little closer to get a better look at it. This bulb was built and designed by a Robert Kipp of Kipco. Now, Kipco at the time, in the 60s and the 70s, what they did was they produced Edison-style light bulbs either as reproductions, boutique, movie sets, stuff like that. Along the way, Robert decided he wanted a light bulb, and this is all what I can find online. He wanted a light bulb that could look like a flame. A lot better than the bulbs, the flicker neon bulbs that were being produced at the time. So he built this. Now this is definitely a product of the 70s. It doesn't produce a lot of light, it's not very effective of a light source, but you could have gotten these in all sorts of different colors with all sorts of different globes. This one happens to be red, I've seen green, I've seen blue, I've seen weird star-looking ones. They're pretty fascinating. The normal one is the globe with a color of some sort. You can see here that the color, the frost is starting to kind of fall apart and fall away, but that's okay. It's fine. I paid $20 for something that's normally $200. So how does it work? It's actually really, really fascinating. If you take a look at the picture I took here of this 1000-watt incandescent, you can see very clearly how the filament is held in place. And this is true for pretty much any incandescent light bulb. The filament, you don't want it shaken around or damaged in any way. Here, that's not the case. There's nothing holding it in place at all. It's, as you can see, freely moving around. But how does it move? Well, that's the fascinating part. Coming out of the walls, you have alternating current, meaning it'll change polarity, in this case here in the US, 60 times a second. When the current is flowing one way, so is the magnetic field. And when it flips, it'll flip back in the other direction, and so will the magnetic field. It will follow it. Here, inside, when current is flowing, it's forming a magnetic field. The filament is small and light enough to where, when current flows, it'll pull the filament one way. The magnetic field, pulls it one way. Well, current has to go back the other way. It's flipping back and forth. The magnetic field will follow it, and it'll continue to follow it back and forth. And if you look at the high-speed, the slow-motion video that I took of this, you can see there's a lot of jiggle, there's a lot of movement going on inside there. It produces quite this nice little flicker effect. Okay, I might not have explained that very well, so let's take a sort of deep dive into physics. So, in electromagnetism, every time current flows, it induces a magnetic field. The magnetic field is the force-carrying particle is the photon. None of that is important. But what is important is you can follow the right-hand rule sort of deal for kind of figuring out the magnetic field. Let's pretend this wooden stick is our wire, and so when current is flowing through it this way, upwards, conventionally, the magnetic field that forms around it forms this way. You can kind of see how my hands are in this regard. Now, when the current flips the other way, like it does in alternating current, now the magnetic field is spinning in the other direction, and as a result, as it continues to do this, the force that it exerts onto the filament, because, the filament is carrying the current and the force is now pushing on the filament, will continue to shake the filament back and forth. And again, looking a second time at that high-speed footage, you can kind of see how the filament is jiggling in that. So hopefully that explains a little bit better as to why the filament in the Balafire is moving. I didn't quite explain it well the first time. I'm not good at talking on a camera. I don't know how to do any of this. I'm just here because I find this stuff neat, and this is keeping me out of trouble. So, yeah, that's kind of the idea on why the filament moves the way that it does. Hopefully that's a little bit of a better explanation. Now, the downside. This probably won't last forever. Eventually, mechanical stress will take this out. I'm not going to run it forever. I really just wanted this for my collection. Turn it on during parties and events and stuff going on around the house. But the fact that I was able to get one of these, like, for cheap, the fact, not $200, this has been a total win. This is probably one of the better work trips that I went on, simply because the rest of the work was crap. This is not crap. This is the coolest light bulb I have in my collection right now. And I don't think anything's going to top that for a while. So if you have any other questions, or if you want to see more, or if there's more weird stuff that I can show you, let me know. I've got all sorts of weird crap to talk about, and I could talk for hours about it. So until next time.